Hello and welcome back to the Kerbal Space Program. My name is WWEdeadman, but you already know that. Also, this is post-commentary because this is already 10 times time accelerated. Now you know how much of a lag I had. Yeah, it was not fun to play anymore. Really not. Yeah, this is a new design of an actual EVE escape vehicle. This one should not have any problems getting off of EVE. I even copied it over to my modded version of KSP and looked at it with the Kerbal Engineer. So yeah, for all Kerbal Engineer says, I should be able to do this as a ascent vehicle from EVE. Anyway, as you see here, I pretty much just stuck a bunch of the big tanks and the cluster engines down there and tried to get this up into orbit. I did completely drain out any fuel on the actual EVE escape vehicle, so it would become a little bit lighter. Still, it was pretty much a pain in the ass to get a launcher that would not collapse under the weight of this thing. Also, as you have been seeing throughout the whole launch sequence already, this thing has a very unfortunate habit of just going into directions without me wanting it to go in that direction. Yeah, and also, as you see, I pretty much ran out of fuel before I could get into orbit. Yeah, I don't know why I left this part in, but yeah, pretty much I could just tell you that this whole video will deal with this thing launching. And yeah, I am really glad that I didn't have to actually live commentate this, because if I would have done live commentary on this, it would have been pretty much only swearing, shouting, yelling, pretty much nothing constructive and nothing that you would want to hear. Yeah, just to show off the last stage, there would be one of the very large engines. And yeah, as you see, I just cannot get this into an orbit. So what do we do here? Well, we need more power. So let's go a little bit Tim Taylor on that thing. Because here it burns out. So what I did, I copied those and just put them around again. Then I put on fuel lines, and somehow I fucked up the fuel lines because I ended up having something that got out of balance. Also, yeah, I put solid boosters on those, like this, 3 per tank, so to say. In the end, this looked like this. And yeah, it launched, of course, but as you see, the top wobbles a little bit, and the wobbling of the top alone makes this thing go into directions I don't want it to go. I mean, I did put reaction wheels on top there, where the boosters of the solid boosters of the escape vehicle are. I put some stuff there that we can get rid of very easily. But yeah, that all didn't matter. This thing just wouldn't want to cooperate and started turning over, even though it shouldn't have. Yeah. So a little bit of tweaking later, I added a bunch of structural stuff and some more SAS units. Yeah, still not really something that you would call pretty, but hey, we're not building for the eye, we're building for efficiency. This thing is not efficient, by the way. Even though the inner circle of tanks is asparagus stage, so that's the most efficiency you can get out of that. And it's saying something if you actually have to asparagus stage NASA parts to get efficiency out of them. Because usually you just put a bunch of the new engines down at the bottom stage, drop that whole stage as a whole, so to say, and there we go, turning over into a direction I didn't want it to go in again. Well, as I said, usually you don't have problems with the NASA parts not being enough to get into orbit. This, of course, is a whole new thing that no one has probably ever done before. So, what I ended up doing is build pretty much a half fairing out of these, so I could stop this from wobbling so much. It still ended up wobbling a little bit, but it was way less than we had in the last thing, for instance. Yeah, also I made sure that these are all aligned, so we don't have any strange off-center engine thrusting. Well, anyway, it's still, yeah, also a whole fucking lot of RCS ports to make sure I have control over this. Yeah, still, as you're gonna see, it's still not gonna be much of a orbit that we get out of this. So far, looking good. We're going straight up. Boosters are burning. Outside tanks are draining. But for some reason, the outside tanks are not draining equally. So it starts turning over again. Here we go with the boosters, which of course now fuck up my engines. So I have to drop the outer engines, and then I cannot even recover anymore because I am going the whole wrong direction and shit. And also those were not at the same level of fuel anymore either. So I optimized the fuel pumping. And yeah, I ended up saying, hey, then let's just do the outer part asparagus stage as well. As you see, there's the first two running out. The next set of 4 is the next thing to run out. Unfortunately, the boosters burn a little bit too long for that to actually make sense. So yeah, I ended up carrying a lot of that weight on this launch. But yeah. Anyway, this looks way better so far. So, yeah. We end up doing the staging of the boosters, the staging of the rockets, and fucking hell, really? I had to drop the last stage of auto tanks because it again exploded when I dropped stuff. And yeah, this inner part started flipping around again for some reason. For some reason I did not have enough control over this to make it not go retrograde. Yeah, so I ended up doing something that's a little bit crazy maybe. I ended up putting 2 more of the big tanks on the outer tanks. Don't ask me how that makes any sense. Also, I ended up adding a lot of more struts, and yeah, by adding those struts up there, I made sure that this thing would not wobble at all. Or pretty much not at all. Also, I ended up adding Seppatrons to these, which worked pretty well, unlike the Seppatrons that I added to the boosters, as you see here. Those ended up flipping my boosters into my tanks for some reason. Yeah. So look out for some fireworks in the next launch. Yeah. Those Seppatrons there really worked well, and well, I don't really know about whether the ones on those would have worked well, because I don't think I ended up having any of those outer tanks left to stage actually accurately. Also, I made sure that those fuel lines were doing what they were supposed to do. Yep. More Seppatrons. Then also Seppatrons on the inner engines. Those ended up working especially well. And yeah. There and there. That's the bad thing if you do it all in two-way symmetry mode, so you can end up having the asparagus staging in your staging that way without actually having to divide decouplers and engines manually to this. Anyway, so I was thinking of doing some more launch clamps there, ended up putting them in there. Worked pretty well. And in the end, I tried to launch this, and yeah, the game crashed. Wow. This thing has over 1,700 parts. Anyway, I started it back up. This time it launched. And yeah, as I said, this is 10 times time accelerated. Do you have any idea how fucking slow that was in real time? Yeah, as you see, we still have the thing with the asparagus staging on the outer tanks going on, which didn't work very well, but anyway, I ended up using it since it was the only one that ended up having any sort of controlled fuel flow. In any other way, I ended up having unbalanced fuel for some reason. So we're going up to the map screen to look at our ascent a little bit closer. Yeah. And we are at about 4,000 to 5,000 meters when we stage for the first time and try to get rid of our solid boosters. Yeah, and then this happened. Boom. The boosters ended up cutting off my lower part of the outer engines. So I dropped all of the outer engines and accidentally also dropped one of the inner engines. And ended up going from there with that. Since we were already higher up than on the first launch, when we lost the first engines, this was still kind of a win in actual launch efficiency, so to say, but we still ended up wasting a lot of stuff that just randomly fell off the ship, so to say. Yeah, also this ended up going into directions again. For some reason. I don't know what's causing that, I don't know how to fix that. Generally, the big rockets, the NASA parts have a habit of doing that stuff. I don't know why. Whenever I'm launching something with the NASA parts, I have what you might call it. I always feel like it looks like it's going sideways for some reason. It's probably some problem with the physics engine there. There's definitely problems with Unity, all in all, meaning that it can't deal with more processors than really 2 at most. Which would be a whole lot of more helpful than actually using more memory, because the physics are all calculated on the CPU, and physics is pretty much the part of the game that makes it lag the most. Yeah. So if we had like support on Unity for more than 2 processors at most, or two cores at most, that would be a whole lot easier to deal with, since it would just if I could use all 6 of my processor cores to the fullest on this game could launch 2,000 part vehicles with no problem. I mean, I probably would have to use the active texture management thing even on the stock game with that, with a thing this large, because then otherwise it would probably crash because of the memory use. But yeah, as you see, the Separatrons on this work especially well. Now what I ended up doing on this stage, you see we are almost out of the atmosphere here. And there we go, 66, 67, 69, 70. Come on, yeah, and there we are out of the atmosphere. So that's something we already did on the last launch, but on the last launch we didn't have half of the last quad nozzle engine left, so to say. So as you see, our orbit is growing pretty good. And I am about to run out of fuel in my cluster engine. So what I ended up doing, instead of staging, and you see I already used up pretty much all of my monoprop up there. Yeah, now I do. I wanted to be able to get this thing away from the Eve lander once we were done with the orbit. So I ended up just pumping fuel over to the quad nozzle engine. So we could end up doing what I'm going to show you after the refueling, because we did have a lot of fuel left, so why the hell not go and refuel our lander. So I ended up refueling the top half orange tank, so to say, and then filled the rest down there into that big NASA tank. Also, for some reason, my engine was still firing there. I don't know how I managed to do that. Anyway, what I did then, and we are now back to normal speed. Stage, which looks like this. I present you the Kraken. Looks really cool when the thing comes out of those arms, so to say. Yeah, and this was the frame rate I was dealing with the whole time. Also, I wanted to rename this debris, so I didn't have it on my tracking station. Turns out I did not transfer any electric charge, and therefore this was just a dry battery. Yeah. Bad luck, I guess. So I'm gonna have to like end that flight on the tracking station. But anyway, this is our Eve Escape Vehicle Mark IV. You see the big docking port there at the front. That's where we're gonna dock. Like, of course, the refueling missions, which you're gonna see in a very cut short version in the next episode. And also we're gonna put a bunch of orange tanks and a nuclear cluster, so to say, that fires in the opposite direction. So we're gonna tow this over to Eve this time. Also, I'm probably gonna use engine clusters in the same way I'm gonna use the nuclear engines, just to get us out of the orbit of Kerbin. And yeah, because I don't want to thrust like 5 hours with the nuclear engines. Because if there's like a 30-minute burn with this frame rate, and then we are pretty sure to sit here like 5 hours, and I don't want to do that. Next time we're gonna see that. Till then, like, favorite if you enjoyed, subscribe for more, and until next time, I'm WWEdeadman. Bye.